Hey, what's up, you guys? It's me, True Brilliance, back with a video. I hope that you guys are doing great. I hope everything is going good. So yes, I'm back with a video. Today we're going to be talking about the relationship houses. So I'm going to be speaking about the 5th house, the 7th house, and the 8th house, as well as the 11th house as an honorable mention. Okay, because these are the houses to where we make connections with other people, and they represent our relationships. And so a lot of you guys have these houses in your natal chart, and you may want to know how they manifest or how you can take better advantage of them, or maybe use it to better understand yourself. Okay, so it's going to be a really fun and educational video today. One of my favorite things to talk about is relationships. I'm a Libra rising, so I just love balance, relationships, bringing two people together, whatever you want to call it. I like doing that, two halves of a whole. Now, first things first, I just want to let you guys know I do have two new reports on my website. One is an Astro dating profile where I look at your natal chart and create your Astro dating profile of the perfect person for you to date, or the type of lover that you need to be looking for to be more compatible with, because a lot of you guys are dating people that you're not even compatible with energetic wise, and that's why it's not working out for you. So I'm gonna help you out. If you've been struggling in the dating department, I'm gonna tell you exactly what you need in these relationships so that you can stop wasting time and you can cut people off that are not compatible with you and your needs, your core needs. Okay, so we'll be looking at your moon, we'll be looking at Venus, and some other important points in your natal chart. Then I also have a new report called Asteroids and Important Points in the Natal Chart, where I'm going to be talking about the vertex, which is a point of fate in the natal chart where, you know, big things can happen in your life when planets cross this important point. I'm also going to be looking at your part of fortune. A lot of you guys have seen that in your natal chart and you don't really know what that means, but that's something very important for you to know about, an energy that you can tap into to bring more fortune into your life. And then we're going to talk about the asteroids such as Lilith, Juno, which is the asteroid of marriage, which can tell you a lot about your marriage partner and what type of marriage partner you will have or that you will attract. So it's really been a success so far. So if you're interested in that, I'll put the links down below for you to purchase that. Next, I want to let you guys know about a sale that I'm having. So I haven't had a sale in a while, since 2018. So I was like, you know, it's been a minute since I put on a sale. So some of my reports are on sale on my website, you guys. So go ahead and check that out if you've been dying to get a natal reading, but you know, you're not able to pay the full $80 for it. This is the perfect time because my natal readings are on sale. They're going to be on sale only for a limited amount of time. So if you are interested, go get it. I also have my love and relationship forecast report that's going to be on sale. And that's my favorite report to do because you get everything. You get transits, you get natal reading, and you get a tarot card spread, specifically tailored toward you and your needs. Okay, so it's awesome. And then a few other things. So go ahead, check the link down below. The sale's probably just gonna last for a couple of days, so make sure that you hop on that. All right, okay, so let's get into these relationship house information, because a lot of you guys are really confused about the relationship houses. A lot of you guys just look at the 7th house as being the only house of relationship and marriage, and then you guys freak out when you don't have any planets there, and you're like, am I doomed to be single for the rest of my life because I don't have no planets in my 7th house? No, okay? Like, first of all, I don't even really look at the 7th house as being the house of deep relationships. I look at the 8th house as being the house of the deepest relationship that you can have in the human experience. The 7th house is more on the surface level, and I talk about this a lot in my videos. I've touched on it, but in this video, we're going to go more in depth. So 7th house is more of, I don't want to say surface level, because it's not like 7th house is superficial relationships. 7th house is committed partnerships. It is marriage. It is, you know, you joining your life with another person, you working together, whether in a business partnership or just making a contract with someone that you're going to be with this person for a long period of time, and you guys are going to work on things together, or you guys are going to have a long lasting relationship. That's 7th house, right? And then fifth house is casual dating and casual sex. So I like to look at the fifth house as being flings, okay? You know those people that are always having flings, or they just go from short relationship to short relationship to short relationship. That would be more along the lines of fifth house energy, because fifth house energy is all about having fun, okay? So these are the people that don't put that heaviness onto dating and relationships. They literally just date just to have a good time. They like the process of flirting, getting to know somebody, and, you know, keeping things more on a lighter note, okay? So fifth house would be like more of the beginning stages of forming a relationship before it gets to the seventh house. Seventh house is like, okay, we've dated, we've been around each other, we have fun together, we know that we like each other, so let's make this thing official, okay? So once you make it official, that's seventh house. You guys are together, and seventh house is a public house as well. It's also the face that you show to the public. So when I talk about the seventh house, I always think about like couples on social media, you know, like the couples that are taking pictures, they may have matching outfits, they're showing you like we're together, showing their spouse off, we're in a relationship together. They want the world to know because seventh house is a public house. It's dealing with what other people see about you, you know. So the seventh house is that public face of the relationship. Everybody knows that we're together now. We're official. So whereas when you're dating with the fifth house, you can date multiple people and it shouldn't be a problem because you're not committed. You're not taken. You're just having fun. Fifth house rules gambling, okay? And a lot of people, when they hear it rules gambling, they're thinking like, gambling at the casino. And no, that's not what it means. Gambling is taking risks in life, taking risks, okay? And that's why, another reason why the fifth house is dating, because what happens when you're dating, right? You're taking risks to go talk to somebody. You're putting yourself out there. You're like, hey, you're cute. You know, what's up? What's your name? And you're taking a risk, right? Because you can be rejected if that person is not interested in you. And that's why confidence comes into play. This is why Leo rules the fifth house. Okay, and this is why fifth house rules gambling. Gambling with your energy, gambling with your ego, like putting yourself out there basically, you know, because a lot of the times we do have to gamble, and this is why it's a fire energy. Fire energy is confident in itself, so it's willing to take chances, and that's what the fifth house is about. Let me take chances, or let me take chances and just date this person. Who knows what can come of it? Or I'll just date this person and just have a good time, and if it don't work out, it don't work out, right? There's that casual dating feel to it. It's just casual. And I know you guys know so many people like this that kind of just go from one relationship to another, but it may not last that long. That's kind of fifth house energy. And I'm not saying if you have fifth house energy, you do this, because I do come across a lot of fifth house people who don't even date that much. But a lot of the times that has to deal with other energies in their chart as to why they don't date that much. But it's all about taking risks. There's some sort of thrill that comes with macking on somebody or trying to get with somebody or putting yourself out there. Let me just see how this goes. Let me take a risk. Let me gamble. Okay, so that's part of fifth house energy as well. But fifth house is more of the player's energy, you know, the person that may date multiple people, or the person that is just hard to tie down, or they may not even like long-term relationships. You know, there may be somebody that you're interested in right now and you just cannot seem to tie them down. It may be because they have a lot of fifth house energy. And fifth house energy is ruled by Leo, which is a fire sign, which is all about the heat and the passion of the moment. Fifth house is about passion, okay? And it's about enjoyment, you know, enjoying yourselves. And let's not put any labels on this. Let's just kick it. Let's just have a good time together. You know how people say that in the beginning of relationships and things like that. But eventually, you know, after a long time of dating, you may decide that you want to take the relationship to the next level. So the next level will be the seventh house, okay? When you lock things in stone, you may move in together. You may get engaged. You may get married. It's more serious, right? Okay, but what happens after the marriage, right? So seventh house is the marriage, making a commitment, signing a contract. Then that's when like you get to the eighth house. So the eighth house is either after you've moved in together, you've shared space with each other, or you've had children together, because eighth house rules shared resources. So you are sharing your life with this person. You're no longer an individual person with your own individual stuff, which would be second house, which is the opposite of the eighth. And I'm going to get into the polarity of the relationship houses with their other house as well. I'm going to get into that in a second. But you guys know how it is when people get married. It's all about the seventh house, right? We look good together. We're compatible on the surface. We have a good time. We love each other. But you really don't get down into the nitty gritty of the relationship until you really start blending your life with this person. So this is what I mean by moving in together, sharing property together, sharing children together, because eighth house rules shared children, okay? Because children are resources, okay? So the shared resources includes children. Sharing a home together, sharing bank accounts together. That's when the real truth of the relationship comes out, and it could be said the darker side of the relationship. So these are, when you're blending with someone, you become one with that person. And this is what eighth house and Scorpio is about. You're no longer an individual. Your energy is merged with mine. We are one. Okay. And this is why sometimes people can feel imprisoned. Like, this is when the real feelings of how you feel start to come out, because some people start to feel suffocated, right? When you have to share everything with this person. And what else are you sharing? You're sharing emotions. You're sharing feelings with this person. Okay. Because sex is involved. And eighth house also rules deep soul bonding sex, to whereas fifth house rules casual sex. Okay, so fifth house sex is having sex for the fun of it. Fifth house sex is partying sex. Like, we was just partying, we was having a few drinks, we was feeling each other in the moment, and we just went in the back and got it on. Like, it was, I was feeling her, she was feeling me. Whatever the case may be, like, you just do it for fun, for enjoyment. That's what fifth house sex is about. Okay. Eighth house sex is soul bonding sex. It's way deeper. It's on a deeper level, and it's an emotional attachment, because sex forms emotional attachments with other people. Okay. When you're having sex on this level, on eighth house Scorpio level, it's a soul tie, soul bonding relationship, right? So when you bind your soul with someone, there's like an energetic imprint that's left over after that experience, or depending on how many times you do it, that's the more deeper that it gets, right? And so you guys are like energetically bound together. Even if you're apart from each other, you can still feel this person. You still know their thoughts. You know what they're thinking. You know if they're lying to you. You can feel it, right? There's an intuitive psychic link between the two of you. And this is why eighth house and Scorpio is so deep. But I always tell my eighth house people, you really have to watch who you're having sex with, because we get bound to our partners way deeper than other people when we have sex with them. Scorpios too. Like, we are the ones that we have to be careful who we have sex with, just as a warning. It's different. Okay. Our souls become entrapped, okay, with that person, because we have that Scorpio energy, or if you have a lot of eighth house energy. Especially if, really any of the planets, but especially if it's your moon or your Venus or even your Mars, you know what I mean? You can really get entangled into those emotions. And what it does is it makes it harder for you to leave that person. Okay? Because eighth house rules bonds. Okay? And a lot of the times people talk about it as meaning bonds as in money and stuff like that, loans and things like that. But from an energetic level, it's talking about soul bonds that you have with someone. And a lot of the times those soul bonds can be hard to break or hard to leave. And this is why the eighth house can be very dualistic. It can be for better or worse. That's why in the seventh house, when you get married, they're telling you right then and there, you're going to be with this person for better or for worse, because when you merge souls with that person in the eighth house fashion, you're connected to that person now spiritually. There's a spiritual connection there. So if you guys aren't meant to be together, or if the energy is bad between you guys, that's going to have a toll and an effect on your spirit. And this is why they tell you not to have sex until after you get married, which getting married is 7th house and 8th house is sex. Okay, so that's why marriage comes before sex. Everything is about astrology. Everything is based on astrology, like I always tell you guys. Because the 8th house is the soul bonding aspect of it. So then once you get deeper into the relationship, this person bears their soul to you, you bear your soul to them. You guys really see each other for who you really are, because the 7th house can be superficial, right? We're judging things more so on the surface, or we are in puppy love, like once things are flowing harmoniously between you and your mate, then you're ready to go. You're like, let's get married. Everything's going good. We get along with each other, blah, blah, blah. But then, like I said, when it gets to 8th house, when you start sharing your life with that person, that's when you really see the person for who they really are, right? Okay. So once you start to see the person for who you really are, some people realize that they're married to a monster. They realize that they're married to a sociopath, or they realize that they're married to somebody that they're really not compatible with deep down inside or on an emotional level, right? And then you want to get out of that bond. You want to get out of that contract. But then it's not easy to get out of that contract, because Scorpio bonds are hard to get out of. Scorpio bonds are very hard to get out of. Like, trust me, I know, like, more than anyone, it's so hard. Especially, like I said, if you have Scorpio energy or you have 8th house energy, you know how hard it is to like break free out of these emotional bonds, right? Or any water energy in general. Okay, so those are like the 3 stages. But then on the flip side of it, the 8th house, if the relationship is a soulful relationship and it's a deep spiritual relationship, this is the most beautiful house for a relationship, because the relationship can be so deep and so fulfilling, and it really is the merging of 2 souls that have a psychic intuitive link to each other that can really last forever. You know what I mean? It's that type of energy, and it could be a very beautiful energy, because there's a spiritual energy behind 8th house bonds. There's a spiritual energy behind it. And that's why these types of relationships are not easy to break up or for people to come in between them. Okay, but if you make it to that stage, because a lot of people make it to the 7th house, but they don't make it to the 8th house. Okay, so it can go either way. But it's the deepest, most fulfilling, most spiritual relationship that you can have in this realm, where you share everything with this person, which is literally bearing your soul to this person. 8th house is about bearing your soul to this person, letting this person see you naked. Okay, and that's why Scorpio rules sex. It's just symbolic. Okay, letting somebody see you naked is not about your physical body. It's about letting somebody see your soul. Letting somebody see who you really are. And these are the type of relationships I like, because I have my Venus in the 8th house. So I don't like superficial relationships. I could never be in something that's not soulful and deep and spiritual and beyond this world. That's why when people talk about it, they're like, I want a relationship that goes beyond death, is that deep. And that's what an 8th house relationship will do. Okay, it'll last for eternity. So, yeah. And then I want to talk about honorable mention, the 11th house. Now, the 11th house is not about romantic relationships, but it is about relationships, and it is about your connections to people and to the world at large. So 11th house is the house of groups and organizations, your friends, and the connections that you have with people in the world, which can really get you far in life. Okay, your relationships, your friendships with people. Okay, so I know a lot of us, especially spiritual people, we tend to be loners, right? We tend to be loners because we feel like people don't understand us. We can't find people that think like us, blah, blah, blah. Even though most of that is starting to fade away now, since consciousness has been rising and there's so many conscious groups out there and people are starting to find each other and stuff like that. But 11th house is a very beneficial house just for your life in general, because You know how they always say, you know, it's all about who you know. And it really is all about who you know, because your connections to other people and how you know them and who you know can take you very far in life. Because if you have a good relationship with people, they can open up doors for you, or they can tell a friend who tells a friend who tells a friend to hook you up. Okay, so 11th house is about building your network. And I think everybody needs to build their network. You know how people say, oh, I'm networking, I'm going to this party to network. Yes, get as many connections as you can get, because networking, that's how you get your name out there. That's how you get invited to certain things. And it's like it's like being a part of an exclusive group, or having, you know, a group of people that you can rely on for different things, or who are great resources to you. Okay, and I know a lot of people are antisocial and things like that, but I think we all need to work on that, because when you put group energy together, it's very, very powerful for getting things done, or for creating something, or for implementing something. So try to make yourself more available to have more connections with people. And the thing that I like about the 11th house is it's not one-to-one relationships like the 7th house, and it's not these deep soul bonding relationships like 8th house. 11th house is more platonic relationships, you know, like it's more, they can be deep. I don't want to say that they're just on the surface, because your relationships with your groups of friends can definitely be deep relationships. But it's like 11th house is like you have so many connections with so many people, you really don't have time to have those deep, like one-on-one connections with people. But you can have both. You know, you can have a pop in 7th house and a pop in 11th house. But what I'm saying is, don't neglect your connections, and don't neglect your group of friends and things like that, because it can take you far in life. Now, I want to talk about the polarities, right? And I want to just talk about this really quick. And so let's talk about the polarity of the 5th house versus the 11th house, right? So 5th house is your dating experiences, right? And 5th house is way more than just dating, but we're talking strictly about relationships in this video. So 5th house is your dating life, right? And who you're dating, romance, okay? It's romance. And 11th house is your groups and your friends and stuff like that. Do you see why they are opposing each other? Because what happens when you start dating, right? You start going on one-on-one dates with somebody, you start liking somebody, and then you naturally start to neglect your friends. You naturally start to neglect your 11th house. You naturally start to neglect your social life, because 11th house is your social life too. That's another thing. 11th house represents your social life. And 5th house is your dating life. So obviously when you start dating, what happens? You start paying less attention to your friends, right? Or less attention to your friends, and you start focusing more on who you're dating and your significant other and whatever else, right? So you end up neglecting your 11th house. Or you're paying too much attention to your 11th house. You're hanging out with your friends. You're in your group mind. You guys are working on projects together. And then what happens there? You don't have time to date, because you're putting all your energy into these social causes, or these things that you want to create with your friends. And they kind of fulfill you on a lot of levels. So you kind of feel like you don't need to date, right? And so coming to a balance between those two is something that you would have to do, because really you need both. It's like, yeah, you need to have romance, you need to date, but you also need your social life, and you need to have fun, and you need to keep your connections. Because what happens when that relationship ends and it don't work out, and then you dissed all your friends, and then you try to go back to them and you ain't got no friends, you ain't got no social life, and you ain't got nothing to do, so you just stuck at home being bored. Okay, how many times does that happen? So maintain balance between your 5th and your 11th house. Same thing with 7th and 1st house, okay? What happens when we get in a committed relationship? What happens when we get married, right? Or what happens when we commit to another person? Then the self suffers, right? Because we have to give up our individual identity, which is the 1st house, in order to be a part of a partnership. And so what happens when we get into a marriage or a long-term relationship? We start to forget who we are. We start to forget our identity. We don't have an identity, because our identity is being part of a relationship, right? Or when you're spending so much time focusing on yourself, improving yourself, you know, focusing on putting yourself out there, building up your ego, building up your self-esteem, then you can neglect your relationships in your life. Okay, when you're intensely focused on improving yourself and your wants and needs, and you don't care about having a relationship with someone else and how that can improve you and actually show you a mirror of yourself so you can see yourself reflected in other people. Because if we're just so focused on ourselves all the time and we're not around other people, we need other people to reflect back to us who we are. Okay, so that's why you have to balance out your first and your seventh house. Okay. And then last but not least, the eighth house versus the second house, right? So the second house will be about building up all of your resources on your own. So this is making your own money, buying your own homes, funding your own business, which is cool, but it's a lot of hard work when you're doing it on your own, right? Versus eighth house matters is where you share resources and money with another person, which is definitely beneficial because then you don't have to put as much as your money and your resources into a situation because you get to share the load with somebody else. But then what comes along with that is you have to share all your decisions with that other person. So you just can't go out and just go spend the money you want. You just can't go out and go buy whatever you want because you guys have a joint bank account. So you got to ask your spouse before you can buy something that you want to buy. You have to consult with your spouse before you can make any type of decisions, okay, about what you want to do to improve your self-worth and your self-value. So where when you're focused on your second house, you don't have to answer to anybody about it. You can buy whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. But you can have more if you join your resources with someone else, but you have to make a sacrifice of not being able to own your own shit. It's not just you owning it. It's like you share your title. You and your spouse's name is on that title. So you just don't own it specifically by yourself. You know what I mean? And then also your self-worth and your self-value is tied up with another person as well. So you know, you can feel imprisoned with eighth house as well because like I said, your value and your worth is tied up with somebody else and it's not. So then you can find a balance between the second and the eighth house as well. Everything is about balance, okay? A lot of us go too far off one end and then that's why we're not happy with ourselves and happy with our lives, okay? So that was just something that was on my mind. I've been doing a lot of readings on people who have been very confused about like their fifth house, their eighth house and things like that. And they just wanted to know more information on it. So I thought I would just say that. And to anybody that, like, this is another thing I get. There's a lot of people that have planets in their fifth house and they're like, I don't have no dating life. My life is boring, you know. Look at the entire chart because it could be that if you have your Venus in the fifth house, your Venus can be blocked and that can be stopping your dating opportunities. It depends upon the sign that your Venus is in. Not so much though, but the sign that it's in does change it a little bit. And you just need to look at any aspects that Venus may be making and your other houses as well, which can definitely affect your fifth house and how your fifth house is expressing itself. Okay. And same with any of the other houses. If you have a lot of seventh house energy, but you don't feel like your relationships are going that well, there's usually probably some type of blockage going on that's stopping it from coming into its fullest fruition. Because usually when it's not blocked, it's going to operate in the way that I explained. Okay. And if you want to know more information, book a reading with me and we can go over your specific chart and I can tell you about it. Or you guys can book Astro counseling with me. Because I do have Astro counseling, guys, where I go over your blockages in your natal chart with you and help you to overcome them and give you remedies on how to overcome the blockages that you're facing with your astrological energy. It's amazing, okay? So everything's going to be down below. Ask the questions that you need to ask and let me know what houses you guys have. Let me know what your guys' experiences is, and I'll be talking to you guys real soon.